Hey, welcome to the Charlotte CHATcast. I'm on location at Foxcroft and Waverly with Delaney Besecker, and I've got to read her NMLS number. Can you read that?
213-0746.
Yeah, that's because she's a mortgage person. Tell us about your bank.
I work for FBC Mortgage. We're a Florida-based mortgage lender. We are a national lender, and we do have an office in Charlotte. It's right down the road in Pineville. Okay. Not too far from here. Okay. Spill the beans, I went to the totally wrong location and tried to blame it on Roger, but it wasn't his
ultimately,
fault.
It's always my fault. So our CHATcast is called Ready, Set, Buy, as in buy a house, mortgage money tips. So how do you, if you were a consumer, you know, you're a lender, but if you were a consumer, how should they choose a good lender?
You know, I have been on the consumer side, and at the time I was not in lending. So I have a unique perspective where I had a bad experience with the lender I worked with.
Really?
I did.
Bad in what way?
It was terrible.
In what way?
Well, it was actually both sides, the real estate agent and the lender. Never met the real estate agent until my closing day. He showed up at closing, never saw the house, barely got everything done on time. The lending was okay.
You obviously subscribed to the wrong YouTube channels.
Well, I wasn't on YouTube at all at the time, so that's where I really went wrong. And
so you showed up, and what happened?
Well, I showed up and I closed, but it was a long, drawn-out process that could have been much more simple if I was working with the right lender and with the right real estate agent.
So let's assume that whoever's watching the CHATcast today, by the way, we've got it all tied up in a nice little tidy 5 parts, so stay with us on this, and we're going to give you Delaney's contact information at the end. But so if they're working with you, what can they expect? I mean, I'm obviously, when you say how to select a great lender, you're speaking of...
Well, there are many great lenders. I am definitely one of them, I like to say.
In all humility.
But you know, what it really comes down to when you're selecting a lender is who you feel like you can trust. You really need to be able to trust your lender. It is so important.
Yeah. Well, when you start slinging your social security number out, you better have some degree.
You better, you better. Now, you know, there's not a lot of risk when you give a lender your social security number, but there's a lot of risk with your wallet. Because if you have a lender that doesn't know what they're doing, you can get to the closing table and find out that you don't qualify. It's horrible.
So when you mean with your wallet, you mean they don't understand about going out and buying a house full of furniture on credit?
Good question. There's that. But it really comes down to, in North Carolina, I know that some of your videos reach some people who are relocating, but in North Carolina, we pay due diligence money and earnest money. And if you get to the closing table and find out you can't close, you lose that. This money lost.
Right. And by the way, just to be clear, guys, as a real estate broker, and I've got a great team of agents, we specialize in new construction. You probably already know that if you're a subscriber. If not, you know what to do. Hit subscribe, like, share, all the stuff the kids do. But the way it gets down on new construction, that's a whole different deal. On resale, yes, there's a due diligence aspect to it. And if you call me, I'll be glad to explain it to you. So how to pick a good lender.
So you really need to have a good conversation with someone, a lender, and they need to make you very comfortable about what you are doing when you get pre-approved, what's going to happen after you get pre-approved, and how the whole process works. So at the end of the conversation that you have with a lender, you should feel really good, really well informed about the whole home buying process and know the next steps. I do talk to a lot of clients who come, they're referred to me by other real estate agents that I work with, and they call me and they've talked to other lenders and we'll go through some basic vocabulary terms and they have got no idea what's going on. So it's dangerous.
I mean, what makes you different? Is it just you care or what?
Well, I really like to think of myself as a teacher. I love the process of the whole mortgage process, and I think it's extremely important for people to understand that process. Knowledge is power. I love that. It's not my quote, as I've been around for ages and ages, but I use it all the time because it's true.
I like the way Maya Angelou said it, paraphrasing, if you know better, you do better.
That's right. If you know better, you do better. I actually saw that quote just yesterday, I think it was.
You might have
it was on your video.
If you were smart, you were watching the correct YouTube video.
I think I was that day.
All right, so obviously, guys, so it doesn't sound like a shameless self-promotion. I've invited Delaney Besecker here to talk about her lender, and it's called FBC?
FBC Mortgage.
What does that stand for?
Well, that's a good question. It used to be part of the Florida Banking Company, I believe it was. It was a branch of the bank that was mortgages only, but it broke off, and then they kept the FBC name. So it actually, fun fact, no longer stands for anything. It's just FBC.
Okay, that's a good point. How did you pick them? Because you could work anywhere.
Yeah, that's a great question. I picked FBC specifically for their size. I love mid-sized companies. I like mid-sized everything. I went to a mid-sized college. I don't like companies that turn into these huge ordeals because people become numbers and employees become numbers too. So we do not have that problem at FBC.
Well, just for the record, I hate the big banks too.
Yeah, you said that too in the
Bunch of
video.
crooks, you know.
Yeah.
I remember right across the street at Bank of America one day going in there like, you know what, I'm so disgusted. Give me my money. I want my money.
Yeah.
I went across the street to a North Carolina bank, and I've been with them ever since. Hey, well, we're going to talk about the rate, for instance. Everybody's wanting to know about that. We're going to talk about that next.